Hello, my YouTube family and friends. I pray that everyone's having a beautiful, blessed day in the mighty name of Jesus. If you have not said it already, let's say it together. Thank you, Jesus, for another day. It is indeed a blessing to be alive. Thank you all for joining me again on this YouTube channel, the channel that God has blessed me to have. It belongs to Him. But I wanted to hop on here and get right into, try not to be on here too long. 1 John, the 4th chapter, and it's verse 8. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. I'm going to read that again. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. And so, I'll be right back, y'all. I'm back, y'all. I had to, had something delivered, so I had to go pick it up. But yeah, so that was 1 John 4th chapter, verse 8. And I just wanted to hop on here again. I try not to be on here too long, but I often think about this. A lot of some people, and I was one of them, I had a lot of things that were in my heart that were not of the Lord. Prior to the Lord convicted me of a lot of things. And I said, Lord, just empty me out of everything that's not like you and fill me up with what should be there of you. And so that's what He's doing. It's a daily walk. It's a daily, replenishing. It's a daily filling up. But I purposely, specifically want to talk about racism. It's a lot of people who have ill feelings against one race or the other, or several races, or whatever, what have you. And these people are sadly mistaken. They think that they're going to go on to heaven anyhow. That's not how it works. I just read to you out of God's holy word. Whoever does not know know love, they don't know God. And so a lot of people feel like I've sat under people who have expressed their dislike of a certain race, or they'll say may say something about the other race of people, well, they do this and they've done this in the past, this, that, and the other. But it's it's not even up for us to even really to even speak that. We just give it to God. We're supposed to be loving on one another. And I've been in, and that's one thing I can honestly say, I've never had that against, I've never felt that way against any race. I love everybody. And this goes back to even when I was little. I remember one of my cousins had mentioned something, and she was saying how she used to pinch me. And I was like, what? And she said she used to pinch me, and said she called my name. She said she didn't get mad or nothing. She just let me do it. But I don't know if she's jealous of me, or she's just being mean and ugly, or what. But I was like, wow, why was she, because, she mentioned that when we had, of course, when we had got good and grown. But I was like, so as I stated, way in quite a few videos I've shared on here, I've had so much craziness done in my life, over my life, for somebody to speak that and say that they did that, which, she's being honest. I love that part. But I was like, wow, because I don't even recall it. I don't know how old I was or whatever, because she's actually younger than I am. We're like 2 years difference. I'm 51, so I think she's either 48 or 49, I think now. But I was like, what? She said, yeah. I said she used to pinch me, and said I just, I wouldn't get mad or anything. And so I don't know. Like I said, I still don't know to this day why she was pinching me. I don't know if it was just for kicks or giggles, or she was just being mean. I don't know. But even back then, my own family, it didn't even, I didn't allow it to bother me, or the Lord didn't allow it to bother me. But I've been around a lot of family members, and, they've said evil things, mean things against, other races. And, I've been sat in the midst of it. And that's one thing, me and my late husband, we were on the same page with. He loved everybody too. When I look at somebody, y'all, I don't look at the color of their skin. I look at how they treat me. I can't see their heart. No, I can't. They can't see my heart. But what I take them, you know, for how they treat me. You know, I take them for what they say to me. You know, that's how I treat them back. You know, and I don't even look for them to treat me the best. I'm gonna treat them right. You know, right off the bat. You know, but it's a lot of people, like I said, that have that hidden in their heart, and I don't even think some people realize it. You know, it's suppressed by other things, and they don't even realize that they have racist feelings against another race. Or you know, they you know, and they try, like I said, they try to suppress it and say, well, you know, I got these few people on my job, you know, that you know, maybe they got few people of that race that they really like or they favor, but the other people in the race they can't stand. You know, that's still not right. You know, that's gonna require a lot of prayer, you know, and ask God to take that out of your heart. Because, you know, I often think about, y'all, you know, when we get to heaven, you know, if that's, prayerfully, that's where you want to go too. But when we all get to heaven, you know, it won't be no black line, it won't be no white line, won't be no Asian line, won't be none of that. Everybody is going to be worshiping the Lord, the Holy One, around his throne. It won't be no separation in heaven. So, you know, if it's not going to be, if that's where you're aiming to go, if that's your goal, you should be getting it right. This should be a rehearsal down here. And I'm just going to be honest, because, you know, I like to be honest, y'all. I can't be no other way no more. You know, I really can't. And when I share stuff on here, personal or about my family, it's the truth, you know, and it's just the truth. I can't be no other way. So, when my late husband, of course, was living, like I said, me and him would have a lot of discussions in our home. And, you know, even he noticed it with his parents. I noticed it with my parents. And I'd be like, you know, why they don't like, you know, and I'm just going to be honest, they didn't care for President Trump. And so neither parents. And so, and we did, you know, we supported him. We, you know, when he first was in office, and, you know, we went to the rally that he had in Tennessee, you know, all of that, you know, and it wasn't about his name or anything, but it's about his morals, his values, what he stood for. But it's not a politic video. But what I'm saying is that they were looking at the color of his skin. That's what they were concerned with. And, you know, my mom, my mother, she said, I'll never forget this. She said, right in her living room, she said, that ain't nothing but the devil. She was talking about President Trump. And so, you know, that sort of hurt me, because you know, I think about how words can you know, words have power. And, you know, when you're speaking against somebody's life, when you're saying something like that, you comparing somebody to the devil, you know, the devil is just nothing nice, you know. And I'm like, wow, you know, you never met him, you know, all you going by is what the news say, you know, this, that, and the other. And so anyway, she would say, you know, things about him. She didn't like him, and I let it be known, you know, I didn't, you know, I liked him. I said, well, he's for the people, you know, this, that, and the other. She didn't want to hear that. And then he would do it with his family. But then we did learn to just, you know, just shut it down. Because it's, you know, sometimes you can't talk to foolish people. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. You know, you gotta just let them, you know, some people you just you know, it's a losing battle, because they don't even hear what you're saying. They don't understand what you're saying. They don't want to understand what you're saying. But then she would mention about people on her job, you know, how they were, but she had friends, you know, that were of a certain race, but it was certain people in that race she didn't care for at her job, you know. But so, you know, I don't understand that. It's not even balanced right. And then, like I said, I'll never forget, well, I can always remember this. I had shared this with, well, my late husband, he knew it, but I had mentioned to, I think it was, I don't know if it's my parents or my siblings or somebody, but and I'm just being honest, it's not a racist bone in my body, but it never has been. I love everybody. I love everybody. I have no problem with nobody. But I remember we were having a discussion or something at my parents' house, and I had told them, I said, all of my, some of my, not best friends, but some of my most enjoyable people, or no, I know what I said. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I said, the people that I have, the race of people that I have worked around for the majority of my life have been Caucasian, white people. And so, because we were just talking, I think, just talking one day at my parents' house. I think that's where this was discussed at. And I said, I just don't have no problem with nobody, And I said, I have worked in places where I was the only black woman. When I worked in Tennessee, at the job where I worked for, what was it? It was trying to remember, y'all, what type of job that was. It was back in 2010 to 2012. But we provided child care to low-income families. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And so I worked in the corporate office, the main office where they did payroll and all that. So, it was me and an older lady. We were the only two blacks, women in the, no, I'm sorry, it was one more. So it was 3 black women in that main office, the big corporate office. And so, it didn't bother me. I actually enjoyed, it being like that. But, like I said, I've never been where, I feel like, I've been around, white people more than I have been worked around them, more than I have my own race of people. And that's okay. That's just how it always be. And then I become, we work well together. Like, I can work well with anybody. I don't have no certain race of people I have to be around. And, even when we were back in Tennessee and we were going to church, and of course it was all black, church, Baptist, whatever. And so, maybe a few white people would come in to visit or something like that. I would run up to them, hug them, whatever, and and everything be fine like that. But now, since we've moved here, the church we attend is non-denominational, and then we were actually going to I don't think it was called non-denominational in Tennessee, but we started going there a little bit before my late husband would pass away, and he really enjoyed it. He said, I like this church, because me and her were on the same page. There's nobody, I tell people all the time, a few people that I share this with, I say, it's nobody on the face of this earth that you can't pair me with, or you can't ask me to work with or to talk with. I don't care what color their skin is. It's going to be just fine. They can be the most meanest person, the rudest person. I'm going to make it work, because that's the heart I have, and that's the heart we all should have. You shouldn't be going through life, looking at, so you got to have certain race of people around you, or, you go in a room, and ain't no black people here. I can't, I'll wait, no, why are you going to wait? Why not go in the room anyway? Be and get to know the people that are in the room. I've actually heard people say that, and then making little rude and nasty remarks about races of people, different races of people. And, I just think about that, y'all. And some of these people are ministers. Some of these people are people that are always talking about how much they love Jesus. And I'm thinking, how are you, how are you going to make it into heaven with a heart like that? We shouldn't have no heart like that. Jesus he loves everybody. He loves everybody. And I shared a video yesterday. Every soul is important to him. We write people off, and we, base, that's what's wrong with the world now. We base everything on what we see on the outer appearance. God looks at the heart. He looks at the heart of man. So I urge you, if you have any type of racism in your heart, any type of, against any other race, or maybe your own race, ask the Lord to remove that from your heart. Because again, we're supposed to love everybody, and, I know a lot of my family members, they when you like white people or any other race people, I've heard people say to me, oh, you just whitewashed. That's what has been said. Or, you just got to be around them, white people all the time. I'm around whoever receives me. I'm around, and they ain't even got to receive me, but I'm around whoever God want me to be around. It ain't even about that. But I'm going to be honest, y'all, because I like being honest on this channel. I haven't met anyone yet in this world that who I can't get along with. I've met a lot of people. God has allowed a lot of people to come into my life and allowed me to come into their life. And I love on, we were in the office today, well, we had training today at work. And I was just hugging on everybody. I don't look and see, well, let me see how she, wait a minute, is she black? Is she white? I love everybody. I love everybody. And that's how we all should be. We all should be that way. And I even go the extra mile if I've heard someone say, and I'm gonna share this. The lady who we used to live with, me and her were talking about race and stuff like that, and she was saying how she opened up to me, and she was saying how her mother has since passed away, but she said her mother when she was younger, and I'm sharing this because I want to help somebody, free somebody, and so she said her mom, of course she's deceased now, but she said when she was growing up, and I think she said, I don't know if she was a teenager or a preteen or what, but we were just having a, sitting down. Like I said, we had some really deep talks and stuff. And I don't know if she was sharing this with me, trying to make me know that she was okay, with black people, or I don't know. I don't really know. Only God knows. But I feel like she was being genuine and sharing the story with me. But she was, she went on to say how her mom, she had a friend, and because she was Mexican, but she said she had a friend that was black growing up, and said her and the friend, I guess they walked to school or they were friends at school. But she said she, her mom didn't like, I think she said her mom didn't like black people, or her mom didn't like that little girl. But she said she felt like she just didn't like black people. And I forget what she told me, some more stuff. But I was like, really? And she said, yeah. And I could tell she was genuine in sharing that she did. She didn't have that in her heart. But I said that to say, a lot of stuff that we have grown up under that have, was never right. We just, we take it all in stride, and we raised under that rule. You don't talk to them people, you don't do this, you don't do that. And then when we grow up, we had a decision to make for ourselves. And like I said, I have always been taught to love everybody. My mom instilled that in me at a young age. But then it's quite contrary, that she, in her older age, she got that in her heart. But yet she raised me, I don't know about my siblings, I don't know about my siblings, how they feel about the other races of people. But I know I don't have it in my heart. And I was thankful when I met my late husband, because he was the same way. We didn't see color. We still don't. I still don't. And I teach my children that. They're not like that. We got to start breaking generational curses, y'all. I'm so serious. This is serious, because like I said, a lot of people are being deceived by the enemy. They thinking because they go to church and they donate to Goodwill and they help people when they need them, and I help you and I'm here for you and all that. None of that's gonna matter, because God's gonna run it all back to us on Judgment Day. He see our heart. Man looks at the outer appearance. God looks at the heart of man. That's in the Bible. And he's not gonna, that's concerning to him. And it should be concerning to you if you're like that. Ask God to remove that, because it turns into dislike, turns into hatred, and that's all evil. It's all evil. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants you to be confused and deceived, so you can go to hell. But I want to remind somebody today, if you have anything in your heart, if it's just something little, where you can't sit by a certain race of people, or you got a negative thought in your brain about a certain type of people, or if you said anything mean and degrading about a certain race of people, ask God, you need a cleansing from Jesus, and we all need it. We all need it daily. But that, if it festers and it goes into other stuff, and you don't want it to go into other stuff, you don't want it there at all. But again, ask the Lord to show you, and he will show you. He will show you what you have in your heart. He's so patient and he's so caring. But again, let's remove the racism out of our heart. It don't matter what, and I want to share this before I get off of here. So my parents, and then my late husband's parents, they always go back to the 60s, in the 50s, 60s, how they were treated, this, that, and the other. That's in the past, And I know we see documentaries, we see different things like that. Yes, that happened. But we got a chance to make a change. It stops with us. It don't matter. Love on people. It's people dying and going to hell because of they got a stubborn heart. They got hate in their heart. And some of this, y'all, is from what somebody don't told them. They fine with people, with the race of people, but it's been, what is it? It's been instilled in them. You don't like them. And then they hear their parents talking about a certain race of people, or they've been sitting under that, and then they grow it in. It grows in their heart, and that's not right. It's not right. And that's their excuse. Well, they didn't treat my parents right when they was little. You weren't even living then, or you were little then, whatever the case would have been. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. We are in such a lot of things the enemy wants us to be deceived on. It's just nothing but deception. And that's why we got to stay in our word. We got to stay prayed up. We got to fast. This is what we got to stay in the word, because God will show us everything that he wants us to know. You don't have to worry about no history book. You don't have to worry about what nobody done told you that happened. God he know all about history. He know everything that happened to your parents. He know everything that happened to your uncle, your aunt, whoever. But it's time for us. It starts with you. It starts with you. Treat people right. I don't care what nobody said about the race of people. Love on them. We all down here together. We're not supposed to be hating on nobody. And when I say that, I'm literally hating on somebody because of how they look or what color skin they got. None of that should matter. It should not matter. So as always, I pray. I just wanted to share that because that was in my spirit. As always, I pray that you always hear Jesus speaking through me and not just me. I pray you've had a wonderful, beautiful, blessed day in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray that you bless someone today. You are already blessed when God woke you up this morning. I love you, but remember, Jesus loves you so much more. The best is still yet to come for you and for me. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. Have a wonderful, blessed evening. I'm going to get in here and get me a bite to eat. I haven't eaten that all day, y'all. I've been so busy training, and I think I had me some chips and some dip or something, but it wasn't much of it. So I'm going to get me a bite to eat. And it's almost 7 o'clock here, and just rest for the remaining, because we got 2 more days left in this week. But I'm thankful. We just thankful. We're thankful to Jesus for another day. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing to this channel. You're a blessing to me, and I pray I'm always a blessing to you all. Bye-bye.